Call the General Laws meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, can we take roll?
Oops. I think mine's messed up here.
Delegate Knight's voting pad is not operational.
Delegate Carr.
Present.
You want to call Walker?
I don't think he's here, but Delegate Walker.
All right, we have a quorum. First thing we'll do are committee reports. And so the general rule I think today we'll follow is we have some bills that came out that were not unanimous. And I think what I'll do is after the subcommittee chair gives his report on each one of those bills that were not unanimous, we'll let the patron, if they're here, make a brief statement as to what the bill's about, and then we'll let one person the person who voted against it, if there are multiple people, we'll pick between one of those two people to express their reasons why they voted against it. And then we'll vote unless anybody on the committee has questions or concerns, and then we'll just go from there. So we can try to streamline the meeting. So having said that, Delegate Fowler, are you ready for your report?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have the report from Subcommittee 1. The first up is Delegate Torian's House Bill 819, which deals with Small Business and Supplier Diversity Department. The subcommittee, at the request of the patron, recommends striking the bill.
Second.
All right, and on to House Bill 381, Delegate Davis, Consumer Data Protection Act.
Delegate Fowler, we need to vote on, that's a recorded vote
Okay.
for the motion to strike, and so we'll have to vote on that separately. Okay, all persons wishing to vote to strike House Bill 819, please record your vote on the voting pad.
Carr votes aye.
Is everyone wishing to vote on this matter done so? Okay. Delegate Price. Technology is great when it works. Okay. All right, that bill is stricken on a vote of 21-0. Delegate Fowler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next up is Delegate Davis's House Bill 381. This was the Consumer Data Protection Act. It authorizes the control of the personal data to treat a consumer request to delete data obtained by a third party about a consumer as a request to opt the consumer out of the processing of that data for targeted advertising, the sale of personal data, or profiling and furtherance of decisions that produce legal or similarly significant effects concerning the consumer. Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee recommended reporting by a vote of 8-0, and I so move. Next up was Delegate Brewer's House Bill 474, dealing with automatic fire sprinkler inspectors, certification, exempting building officials and fire officials. The certification automatic fire sprinkler inspectors exempts building officials and fire officials, exempts building officials enforcing the uniform statewide building code and fire officials enforcing the Virginia statewide fire prevention code from the certification requirements applicable to automatic fire sprinkler inspectors. Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee recommends reporting by a vote of 8-0, and I so move. All right. Next up, we had Delegate Carr's Department of General Services adjustment of boundary lines of surplus property. Mr. Chairman, the bill just provides for the adjustment of boundary lines of surplus property, provides that the Department of General Services may determine that a boundary line of surplus property is in need of adjustment, may work with property owners to make such adjustment. The bill provides the department may determine that a grant or acceptance of an easement may facilitate such adjustment, may enter into such easement or form approved by the Attorney General and subject to written approval of the governor. The bill also makes changes regarding the notice of a sale of surplus property. And, Mr. Chairman, I neglected to move the substitute.
Second.
All those in favor of the substitute, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Substitutes before us.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee recommends reporting with substitute by a vote of 8-0, and I so move. All right, next up was Delegate Torian's small businesses and supplier diversity, agency procurement enhancement plans.
Delegate Fowler. So we'll cut the block off there because I think the other ones are going to be report and refer. Is that correct?
Not all of them. Not all of them, Mr. Chairman.
So I think 814 is going to, there's a request for that to go to appropriations. 815, there's a request to go to appropriations.
Those
So-
two are, 820 does
All right,
not.
so let's pick up with 820 then.
All right. Next up is House Bill 820, Delegate Torian, Department of Small Business Supplier Diversity Disparity Study. Mr. Chairman, Department of Small Business Supplier and Diversity Study requires the Department of Small Business Supplier Diversity conduct a disparity study every 5 years, next due no later than January 1st, 2026. Subcommittee recommended reporting by a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
Okay. Can I get a second on that motion?
Second.
So I believe we have a motion for all of those bills to be reported. There was a second to all those, as the subcommittee chair indicated, and that includes all substitute amendments. All members wishing to vote on this matter, please do so on the electronic voting board.
Delegate Carr,
Votes yea.
Delegate Torian, your vote is not registered yet. Okay. Those bills are reported on a vote of 21-0. Delegate Fowler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe, let me see, did we take
Just, I guess, start back with 814.
Yep.
And
Mr. Chairman, next up, Delegate Torian's House Bill 814 deals with the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity, and it directs the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity to annually review and provide feedback on state agencies' plans to enhance procurement from small, women-owned, and minority-owned businesses. Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee recommended reporting and referring to appropriations by a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
And 815, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Chairman, House Bill 815 from Delegate Torian comes from the Department of Small Business Supplier Diversity and directs the department to administer a mentorship pilot program under which established businesses or industry sector experts act as mentors to start up women-owned or minority-owned businesses. Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee recommends reporting and referring to appropriations by a vote of 8-0.
And do you so move?
And I so move. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker.
And there's a second.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have two bills in a block vote, House Bill 814 and House Bill 815, that the chairman has recommended reporting, and there's been a proper second. All members wishing to vote on this matter, please do so on the board.
Delegate
Carr
Carr,
votes aye.
Okay. That motion is agreed to, and these bills are reported and referred to the Committee on Appropriations by a vote of 21-0. Delegate Fowler, you had a busy day. What else do you have?
Okay, we've got a few more, Mr. Chairman. We have Delegate Rome's House Bill 615, which has to do with the sale of cemeteries owned by a locality. The bill provides that no cemetery owned by a county or city shall be sold to a private owner unless the county or city has made a good faith effort to ensure prior to sale that the ownership of such cemetery is vested in the estate of the last owner of record, or that permission for the sale has been granted by the family members or descendants of such owner. The bill describes a good faith effort as an attempt by the county or city to conduct all known family members and descendants of the last owner of record no less than 3 separate times by phone, mail, or visiting the last known address of record for such family members and descendants. The bill requires county or city to keep written records of each attempt to contact a family member or descendant. Mr. Chairman, the committee recommended reporting by a vote of 7-1, and I so move.
Second.
Okay. Delegate Roan, would you like a brief moment to explain your bill?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the delegate who very accurately described exactly what this bill does. So the problem that we had in the 13th District in the western part of Prince William County was we had a number of historic cemeteries where the private property owners didn't even know about it per se. They ended up bulldozing this area, and they didn't know that they were clearing over grave sites because a lot of very old, centuries-old grave sites, they don't have traditional headstones like you see at a modern cemetery. What you end up seeing instead are just literally stones, rocks in the ground, or indentations in the ground. And so one of the issues that came up was one of the family some of the family members of the people who were actually buried there said, hey, we were never notified that this property that had been previously in their family was actually put up for sale in the first place. And so what the point of this bill is to make sure that when a locality, so either city or county, puts up a piece of land like this at public auction, just that they're going to give the family members of the people who have been buried in that cemetery just the first shot, just to let them know, hey, this is something that's happening. Would you like to be able to, purchase this property or figure out a way to do it? This is a very common issue that comes up with heirs properties especially, and so that's the problem we're trying to solve.
Okay. Thank you, Delegate Roan. Does anyone wish to express an opposing view on the committee? All right. All minds are clear. There's been a motion and a second to report the bill. All members wishing to vote on the matter, please do so on the electronic voting board.
Delegate Carr,
Aye.
Okay. All right. That bill reports on a vote of 20-1. Delegate Fowler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Brewer brings us House Bill 1019, which involves the Department of General Services. And basically it is with the conveyance of an easement and appurtenances, which is tough to pronounce, thereto to telecommunication companies, adds telecommunication companies to the list of entities to which a state department, agency, or institution may grant an easement. Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee recommended reporting 7-1. I so move.
There's a motion, a second. All right. Delegate Brewer, would you like a minute to talk about your bill?
Mr. Chairman, I'll be brief. This is just a little bit of a cleanup issue as we're going forward working between the Commonwealth and all the other issues that we have as far as easements. This is just going to allow them to do that a lot easier. So the bill's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Anyone on the committee wish to express an opposing view? All right. All minds are clear. Please cast your vote on the electronic voting board.
Delegate Carr,
Votes aye.
Okay. That bill reports 21-0. Delegate Fowler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next up is Delegate Trans, House Bill 1049. And this bill establishes the Interagency Language Access Working Group in the Office of the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion with the following membership. The Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, the Director of the Office of the Children's Ombudsman, the Governor's Secretaries, and 6 non-legislative citizen members representing organizations represent individuals with language access needs. The working group is established for the purpose of maximizing state policies and resources, technical assistance, and procurement practices to further language access and equity in the Commonwealth and its state government agencies. The bill also requires each state agency to designate a language access coordinator who will be responsible for the agency's annual language access report, the requirements of which are set out in the bill. The Secretary of Administration is directed to establish criteria for state agencies to procure language interpretation and translation services and to establish a policy for compensating multilingual state employees who are required as part of their job to provide interpretation, translation, or other bilingual skills at least once a month. Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee recommended reporting by a vote of 62 and also recommended referring to the Appropriations Committee, and I so move.
All right, there's been a motion, a second. Delegate Tran, are you in the audience? Yeah. Would you like to, this was not a unanimous vote, so I just want to know if you want to take a minute to explain your bill very briefly, please.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. What we see right now is that our state government does not have a consistent language access policy across our agencies. So even during the pandemic, some of our agencies were using Google Translate, and there were a lot of mistranslations as a result of that. Or people, for example, through the unemployment insurance program, were unable, if you don't speak English or Spanish, they were unable to proceed through the call system to get assistance collecting their UI payments. Those are just two examples, but this bill would help us make forward motion in ensuring language access equity for all Virginians. These individuals are working really hard and contributing to the Commonwealth and should have access to our government services.
Okay, question for you real quickly,
Yes,
Delegate
sir.
Tran. We do have two virtual speakers that have signed up to speak in favor of this bill, I believe, the Virginia Poverty Law Center and the Hamke Center. Were they able to testify at subcommittee? Do you know?
For this particular bill, my recollection was we didn't have a chance to accept public testimony.
Okay, have your comments covered, do you think, what their testimony would be?
I think basically yes, but for the record, I'd like to know that to indicate they do support the bill.
Okay, yes. Anyone on the committee wish to express an opposing view? All right, I don't see any opposing view, so we'll go ahead and vote on the bill. All minds are clear. Everyone wishing to vote on this measure, please do so on the electronic voting board. That was a motion to report and refer to appropriations.
Delegate Carr,
Votes aye.
Okay, that bill reports and refers to the Committee on Appropriations on a vote of 19 to 2. Thank you,
Thank you so
Delegate.
much, Mr. Chair and members of the committee.
All right.
Okay, does that conclude your report, Delegate Fowler? Chairman Fowler.
Yeah. Yes,
all right.
yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. It concludes the report.
All right, next we'll move on to subcommittee number 2, Delegate Wampler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 5 bills on the subcommittee number 2 report, starting with HB 239, patroned by Delegate Adams. This is a bill that adds or incorporates elder citizens into the Housing and Supportive Services Interagency Leadership Team, reported 8-0 with some line amendments, and I'd so move its adoption, Mr. Chairman.
So is that a motion to move the amendments?
That's correct.
Okay, is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
And now I'd move to report
And refer to
HB
appropriations.
239 and refer to appropriations.
We have a second? All right. All right, the motion is to report and refer to appropriations. All matters wishing to vote on this matter, please do so on the electronic voting board.
Carr votes aye.
All right. That bill reports and is referred to appropriations on a vote of 21-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have HB 400 up next, patroned by Delegate Willett. This is a bill that includes the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program and the list of federal laws that are considered when determining the fair market value of real estate that's operated as affordable housing. So this stays consistent with the federal definition. The subcommittee recommended reporting this 7-0, and I'd so move.
All right. You have any other bills we can vote on in a block, Delegate Wampler?
I think it'd be just quick, take them up one by one, Mr. Chair, if that's okay.
I'd rather do them in a block.
Okay, you'd rather do them in a block. Then we can do HB 470 next. That's patroned by Delegate Bulova. This bill does a couple of things. First, it restructures and clarifies the prohibitions on who can represent lot owners and unit owners. It requires a written authorization signed by the lot owner or unit owner as when designating such individual, and then it expands the list of authorized persons that can act as an agent regarding selling any lots or units. And so the subcommittee recommended 7-0, and there are some technical amendments. I'd move those technical amendments, Mr. Chair, this time.
Is that House Bill 470?
470.
I don't see any record of having technical amendments to those.
What's that? The bill contains, yeah.
What's,
All right. It appears there are no technical amendments,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you.
And then in the final bill in the block would be HB 1097. That's Delegate Brewer's bill, which
So, I'm sorry, 586, Delegate Wampler, is that the-
again, Mr. Chair, that bill is going to have some subcommittee motions on the, or excuse me, some committee amendments, and so I don't think we should take that
So
one
you
up
can-
in the
You can move
block.
those, you can move the amendments now, and we can take those, we can still take it up in a block.
All right. HB 586, Patrons Delegate Van Valkenburg. This provides a Class 4 misdemeanor penalty for anyone who knowingly and intentionally represents themselves as needing an assistance animal. And so, Mr. Chair, I would move that the committee reject the subcommittee's line amendments at this time. Or I would move the line amendments and ask that the committee reject them.
So is the patron aware of that? Because the subcommittee recommended reporting with amendments.
Can we speak to it?
Delegate Van Valkenburg.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the substitute that Chairman Wampler will suggest next includes the line amendments and then one technical amendment
Okay.
to clarify
All right.
something.
All right, so I was wrong, Chairman.
I would
Wampler.
move the.
We probably should not do that in a block.
I would move the. I would move the subcommittee line amendments and ask the full committee to reject them at this
Well,
point.
let's just do 400 and 470 in a block, and then we'll come back to that one. It seems a little bit convoluted. So, all right.
Keep it simple.
So we've had a motion and a second on House Bill 400 and House Bill 470 to report. And all members wishing to vote on those two bills in a block, please do so on the voting board.
Carr votes aye.
All right, those two bills report on a vote of 21-0. Okay. Sorry I messed up your train of thought, Delegate Wampler. So we're back to House Bill 586. So you want us to reject the committee amendments?
I would move the line amendments and ask that the full committee reject the subcommittee line amendments at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and I understand the Delegate Van Valkenburg is comfortable with that. All right. So all members wishing to, is a motion to adopt the line amendments. All members in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say
No.
nay.
All
All
right,
right,
Mr.
those
Chair.
line amendments are rejected.
Mr. Chair, I would now move the subcommittee, the committee substitute and ask Delegate Van Valkenburg to speak to it if that's acceptable.
Okay, Delegate Van Valkenburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. The substitute is the line amendments from the subcommittee, but it includes a technical amendment to clarify that anybody who is engaged in a fair housing investigation would not be found guilty of misrepresenting themselves. So it just clarifies that those investigations would go on like normal. And so it's a technical amendment. And so the substitute just incorporates that technical amendment, that clarification, and then the subcommittee line amendments.
Okay, well, so before we, all right, I'm sorry, Delegate Walton, did you move to accept those? Okay.
I
Is there a
move the
second?
substitute at this time, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, the substitute is a force. Does anyone on the committee have questions about the substitute? Okay. What is your recommendation?
It was recommended that this bill report 8-0, and I'd so move that it report with the committee substitute, Mr. Chair.
And there's a second. All members wishing to vote on House Bill 586, please do so on the voting board.
Delegate Carr.
Votes aye.
Okay. All right, that bill reports on a vote of 21-0.
The final bill, Mr. Chair, is HB 1097. It's patroned by Delegate Brewer. This relates to fair housing law. It exempts an owner that either individually or through a business entity owns more than a 10% interest in or owns more than 10 dwelling units from the fair housing law. And Mr. Chair, the subcommittee recommended reporting 4-3, and I'd so move.
Okay. All right. Do we have a second? All right, there's a motion and a second. This was not a unanimous vote, so Delegate Brewer, would you like to briefly explain your bill?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. So last year, we had a bill that came forward to the House that reduced the number required to comply with certain tenants of fair housing to 4 units. While I appreciate the previous patron, what we actually unintentionally did, especially in people in rural communities, we really hemmed some people up that only maybe owned 2 duplexes in rural areas. And so I just found 10 to be a more equitable number. And so I worked with some stakeholders, and we arrived at increasing that number of units to 10.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Brewer. Is there anyone who wishes to express an opposing view? All right. Let me see if we have anybody online.
All this crap we gotta go through now, I don't think I have any of it.
There is one member, one individual who signed up virtually to speak, Terry Morgan. Since no one on the committee expressed an opposing position, I will let Ms. Morgan testify.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Terry Morgan. I'm the Executive Director of the Virginia Board for People with Disabilities. The protections provided by requiring housing providers to accept all lawful sources of income equally has opened up the stock of available housing, providing more choices and options, in particular for people with disabilities and people who use rental assistance. Changing the exemption from owners of 4 units to owners of 10 units will in effect decrease the pool of available affordable housing. Source of income protections was added to the law in 2020. It's my understanding that there's no sufficient data to demonstrate that the current exemption is a problem. Raising the exemption from 4 to 10 will have a negative impact on the housing options and choices available to people with disabilities and others who use rental subsidy. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. All right. Any questions resulting from any of those remarks? Okay. All right. There's been a motion to report House Bill 1070. All members wishing to vote on the measure, please do so on the board.
Delegate Carr.
Votes no.
Okay. That measure reports.
Mr.
11.
Chair, Delegate Carr's vote is not recorded.
Yes, I was going to ask that. Yeah. So, there we go. All right. That measure fails to report on a vote of 11 to 10. Okay.
Mr. Chair, that completes my subcommittee report.
Okay. Thank you, Delegate Wampler. Delegate Robinson, Subcommittee Report Number 3.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are a lot of bills here, and I've tried to condense down some of the language so that we can move quickly. First off, I'd like to do a block vote on House Bill 940 and House Bill 1250 at the request of the patrons that both of these bills be struck from the docket.
Okay. All right. There's a motion, a second to strike House Bills 940 and House Bill 1250. That's a recorded vote. All members, please cast your vote on the board.
Delegate Carr.
Aye.
Delegate Torian.
All right. Those bills are stricken from the docket on a vote of 21 to 0. Delegate Robinson.
Mr. Chairman, next bill we'll take up is House Bill 455, Delegate Knight's casino gaming, sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages and casino gaming establishments, casino employees, wagers, accounting, and games. I'm going to condense this down someone may want to ask some questions, but basically what it does, it issues 2 different licenses. This is kind of all cleanup language on the big casino bill that was passed last year. two different licenses. One is a beverage casino license, the other is a mixed beverage restaurant license. The Board of Directors of the
Those were contested votes.
Virginia Alcoholic Beverage Control Authority will promulgate any regs to implement some of these changes. The bill also revises the definition of gross receipts to include electronic credits and electronic cash, and to exclude the cash value of promotions or credits under certain conditions and uncollectible counter checks. It defines and authorizes the use of counter checks and prepaid access instruments. It authorizes wagers to be conducted using electronic credits and electronic cash, and it excludes conviction of misdemeanor possession of marijuana as a disqualifier for the issuance of a service permit by the Virginia Lottery. And yes, and first we need to move a substitute.
Second. All right, all those in favor of adopting the substitute, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The substitute is adopted.
So, Mr. Chairman, I told everybody what's in the substitute. The subcommittee recommended that it be passed on an 8-0 vote, and I so move.
Okay, all right. And we're going to take this one up separately because a member has requested that we not do this in a block. So, all members wishing to cast their vote on House Bill 455, please do so on the voting board.
Delegate Carr.
Votes aye.
All right. That bill reports on a vote of 19-2. Delegate Robinson.
Mr. Chairman, the next bill would take up is House Bill 571, Delegate Kresak's bill. Horse racing and parimutuel wagering prohibition, persons under 21 years of age with a penalty, raises from 18 to 21 years of age the minimum age for a person to wager on a conduct any wagering on the outcome of a horse race to be admitted into a satellite facility without being accompanied by such person's parent or legal guardian. And the subcommittee recommended we report out a substitute, sir.
All right. Is there a motion? All right, there's a motion and a second to adopt substitute. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The substitute's before us.
And the committee voted it out on an 8-0 vote, and I so move.
Okay. All right. All right. All those wishing to report House Bill 571 as recommended, please vote on the electronic voting board.
Delegate Carr.
Aye.
Okay. That bill reports on a vote of 21-0. Delegate Robinson.
House Bill 574, also by Delegate Kresak. It provides that 0.01% of the amount that a horse racing licensee retains from wagering on historical horse racing pools shall be deposited into the Problem Gambling Treatment and Support Fund. The bill reduces from 0.75% to 0.74% the percentage of such retained amount that accrues to the general fund. Again, this was a substitute.
All right. Are you moving that substitute?
Yes, sir.
All right. And there's a second. All members wishing to adopt a substitute, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Substitute's before us.
And this is recommended on an 8-0 vote to report and refer House Bill 574 to appropriations.
We have a second? Second. All right, there's a motion and a second. All members, please cast your vote on the electronic voting board.
Delegate Carr.
Aye.
All right, that bill is reported and referred to appropriations on a vote of 21-0. Delegate Robinson.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to explain this bill, but there's some changes to it, and I will let Delegate Kresak and the council explain those.
Okay.
Does that work?
Right.
Okay. So House Bill 763 provides that electronic gaming defined in the bill as charitable gaming conducted primarily by the use of an electronic device is restricted to social organizations and is limited to such organizations' social quarters. The bill eliminates exceptions in current law for veterans and fraternal organizations. There's other language here, but I'm going to turn this over to Delegate Kresak.
Can we get the substitute before us first? All right, all those in favor of adopting the substitute, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Delegate Krizik, can you explain the substitute?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, what this substitute will do is conform House Bill 763 to Senator Reeves' Senate Bill, the Cognate, which is SB 403, which has been passing at the same time it's been going through the Senate process, and they made some changes yesterday. And I think it would be easiest if council can explain those changes if she's okay with that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right, so council has indicated that we adopted the committee substitute and not apparently a new substitute that exists. But I have a question about that. So there was my understanding that there was going to try to be a slight difference between the House and Senate version so we could work on some language.
That's correct.
So I question whether we want to conform to Senator Reeves if we're trying to make them slightly different.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, you're right. We can do that later. That's not a
Okay,
problem.
all right. So we want to vote on the committee substitute. Is that correct?
The subcommittee.
Yes. All right. Is that correct, Delegate Krizik? Just want to make sure we're all clear.
Yeah, can I confer with council really quickly?
Yes.
All right, hold on.
We'll be at ease for just a minute.
763, as you have just heard, needs a lot of help, a lot of changes in that. And unfortunately, we're not able to take a look at all these changes as quickly as you folks are. Same thing happened yesterday in the Senate. I'm hoping with the blessings of the committee that we'll be able to work with these sponsors. Mr. Krizik and Senator Reeves have done a lot of hard work. They spent a lot of time over the summer, but there's a lot of problems in these bills as far as we're concerned. They're going to prohibit a lot of good gaming activity. For instance, it removes the use of electronic gaming during actual bingo games. We do appreciate the definition of the social quarters. There are some good features, but there are also some bad features. So I'm hoping we can be afforded the opportunity to meet with the good sponsors between now and the next hearing. We really want to get this bill right because the fraternal order police is actually, we're tired of being handcuffed, so to speak, and not allowed to enforce the law because you have a later bill coming up, Delegate Campbell's bill. We're looking forward to legal games being done. There's been talk of corruption and organized crime, et cetera. The fraternal order police does not endorse any of that. We want people to be put in jail where they belong if they're doing bad things. And I think with more work on these bills, especially 763 and 403 in the Senate, we can come to a good agreement where we have a good working bill that's going to help charities. Because after all, the goal of this entire endeavor is to help charities so we can raise money. So the FOP is also trying to get into charitable gaming, get back in charitable gaming. The skill games hurt us tremendously. So with your assistance, we would like to ask that, I don't know what the legal procedure is, or your technical procedure is. I mean, does it take a no vote in order to get to finance so we can then discuss it? I just don't want to have an opportunity or fail to have another opportunity to have another bite of this apple. I'm hoping we can figure something else we can all meet. And as your phrase, y'all like to use, peace in the valley. But we would really like to get things working right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. So as I understand it, we're adopting the committee substitute. The Senate bill is going to have the new substitute, and this bill is going to appropriations. So there would be opportunity for further discussion, is my understanding, and I hope that takes place. So now, the bill before us, or the substitute before us, is a committee substitute. That passed out of subcommittee on a vote of 6 to 2. And is it your motion?
The motion is to report and refer to appropriations.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Second. All minds clear. Any further discussion from the committee? Please cast your vote on the voting board.
Delegate Carr,
Aye.
All right. That bill reports refers to the Committee on Appropriations by a vote of 19 to 2. Okay. Delegate Robinson.
Mr. Chairman, House Bill 764 provides that VDACs may promulgate regulations that require any landlord that leases to qualified charitable organizations on premises devoted in whole or in part to the conduct of bingo games or any other charitable gaming to register with the department. The bill also prohibits, one, an organization qualified to conduct Texas Hold'em poker tournaments from conducting any Texas Hold'em poker games where the game has no predetermined end time and the players wager actual money or poker chips that have cash value, and two, a qualified organization from contracting with an operator to administer Texas Hold'em poker tournaments. There were some technical amendments. The subcommittee reported on a substitute, sir.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the substitute. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Substitutes before us.
And the committee reported the bill out on a 5-3 vote, and I so move.
Okay. All right. There's a motion and a second to report the bill. Delegate Krizik, this was not a unanimous vote, so if you want to take just a minute to explain the purpose of the bill, and then we'll give somebody who may oppose it equal opportunity.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I also just want to respond to Mr. Williams. You know, we have some of those changes that you heard for that last bill were changes that he had presented to Senator Reeves. So we will certainly work with him as we go through this process. The substitute here changes the qualified organization from contracting with an operator was banned. In the original one, we were saying it had to be done by volunteers, but now this changes that and allows for professional poker tournament holders, if you will, people who are expert at running these games to be able to still do that. So that was the change and of the substitute. But for the most part, what this bill does, this also came out of our summer committee hearings and out of the Office of the Inspector General's recommendations, and that is really so that anybody, organizations are qualified to conduct the Texas Hold'em poker tournaments. And remember, we're talking about poker tournaments, not poker games, not cash games. That they would, that first of all, it makes it clear that that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about poker games where there's no predetermined end time. Players use actual cash and everything, and also that those folks who are doing so will have to register with the department, so we know what's happening. So it's really just to put a little bit of a fence around, some guardrails around the regulatory scheme, and if there's a lot more to it, I can answer any questions if anybody has any.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Krizek. Does anyone on the committee wish to express an opposing position? Is there anyone in the audience, Delegate Albo, that would like to make a statement? Former Delegate Albo, I'm sorry.
I prefer honorable has-been. Wanted to thank, I'm representing the Virginia Charitable Bingo Association. Been working with Delegate Krizek. He accepted one of our amendments, which was the amendment that allows people to pay to people to run poker. Our remaining problem with it, and we'll hopefully work this out by the end of session, is that the rules are so stringent here that the charities, in my opinion, won't be able to make any money having charitable poker. And the reason is that the bill only allows what's called tournaments. And tournaments is, say, 10 people show up, they pay $150, 15%, which has to go to charity, is put in a lockbox for the charity. $35 is used to pay rent, pay the people who are going to run the thing, and $100 is the prize pool. And people play until there's one person left standing. And that takes anywhere between 4 to 8 hours. And what I told the subcommittee is, here's a phrase that's never been said in the Albo House. Dave, why don't you take 6 hours off, leave your son Ben with me, and play poker with your friends? It never will happen. And what these people the charities who've been doing poker have found is they can't get enough people to come and play for 6 hours. That's why they wanted the ability to have cash games as a side. My proposal, and the subcommittee rejected it, was not to say that you can't have cash games, but to allow the regulators, when they're making these regulations, to consider it. And I had hoped that would have been included, and it wasn't included, and that's why we still remain opposed to the bill. But it is getting better.
Thank you, Delegate Albo. Anyone on the committee have questions based upon those statements? All right. Delegate Robinson, I'm not sure whether you moved the substitute, passed the substitute or not, but could you, what was your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman.
Right, you did, I think you did. Okay, all right. So, all right, the substitute's properly before us, and we're ready to vote. All members on the committee wishing to vote on the matter, please do so on the board.
Delegate Carr.
Aye.
All right. That bill reports 15-6.
All right, Mr. Chairman. House Bill, we're on House Bill 765. At the patron's request, he would like, instead of us accepting the committee amendments, he would like for us to reject the subcommittee amendments.
Okay. So can you move the amendments so we can reject them?
So, yes. The subcommittee recommends reporting the amendments.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of adopting the amendment, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Nay. All right, those committee amendments are rejected. And I heard Delegate Carr on that one. Good to hear your voice.
Okay, so we rejected them, right?
Right.
Didn't want to sound like a dog.
Okay, so what are we going to do now that we've rejected those amendments, Delegate
Well,
Robinson?
I'll explain it, and then we'll let
Okay.
our council or Delegate Kresak explain why we're rejecting them. This changes the charitable gaming board from a policy board to an advisory board in the executive branch of state government, and it decreases the membership from 11 to 9 members and moves the power and duties to promulgate regulations related to charitable gaming in the Commonwealth to VDACs. And there's some other things, but I'll let them address that.
Okay. So, do you want Delegate Krezik to take it from there, or council?
Delegate Kresak?
Delegate
I can start, and then we can end with our batting cleanup council there. But basically, as this chairwoman explained, it's the main purpose here is to create an advisory board out of the charitable gaming board, and rather than as a regulatory board, to put it in the same posture as lottery board and a lot of other similar advisory boards that are in the gaming space, and return the regulatory power to VDACs where it used to be. And the change here on the line amendments is I'll let council explain it, but basically we have to bring back the strike department and insert commissioner in a number of places, because when we talk about VDACs, we're talking about the commissioner, not the department. And then we have one change at the end. It's one that former Delegate Alba is not going to like. But anyway, I think I'll let council explain it, and I just want to alert him. But we'll continue to work with all the stakeholders as we continue this progress through this process. And this will conform this to Senator Reeves' 402. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Chairman, the only line amendment or the only difference between the subcommittee line amendments and the full committee line amendments is we removed from the subcommittee line amendments the second one, which was on line 505 of the introduced bill. Basically what that does is, what the initial line amendment did was allow for any rules adopted by VDACs in regards to Texas Hold'em poker tournaments to be exempt from the provisions of the APA. So we took that back out, and now it is as it is in current code.
All right. Can I get you to hold on for a minute, council? I've just been informed there's no audio on our live stream feed. So you maybe check that so the public at large can make sure they're keeping an eye on us like they're supposed to be. All right. It appears that it is working, so we'll forge on. If they can't hear, they'll text us again, I guess. All right. Were you finished, Ms. Benz? Okay. All righty. I guess the best person to move those line amendments would be the committee chair, Delegate Robinson. Have you had a chance to review the amendments? Do you wish to recommend that we adopt those?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we adopt the newly reported amendments.
Okay. And there's a second. Everyone in favor of adopting the amendments, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Question, are those amendments available on iHod? Can everybody see them if they wish to see them?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, they
Okay.
should be up.
All right, thank you. Okay, is there any discussion on those amendments? Is there anyone opposed? Delegate Has-Been to Albo.
There is a big problem now.
Okay.
So originally at the subcommittee, we agreed to exempt from the APA the regulation writing process. Now that you haven't exempted it, so it's going to take 2 years for the regulations to be passed. And I remind you, the reason that the General Assembly gave charities the ability to do poker is because as soon as casinos open up, it's gone. The charities will not exist anymore because no one's going to go play bingo. So if you do the APA process, it's going to take 2 years. And casinos will be up and running by then. What we had requested was just allowing an exemption from the APA. And it's not that much an outrageous ask because they're already exempted from regulations on electronic pull tabs, on electronic bingo, and other things. And all it did was just say, and Texas Hold'em poker. It doesn't stop the regulations from being made. It doesn't keep the regulators from doing stuff that my client doesn't like. It just says that it doesn't have to take 2 years. And we were hoping we'd have peace in the valley on that bill and have included that amendment.
Okay. Thank you. Delegate Krizik.
Mr. Chairman.
What was the purpose for changing that particular portion of the bill from subcommittee to full committee?
The reason there is twofold. One is it's to conform with what happened over in the Senate, and two, and I see Mr. Menifee from VDAX is here, and he is the one who brought it to our attention, the problems we would have with it. So if you would give him 10 seconds, he can
Mr.
explain
Menifee.
that.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Mike Menifee with VDAX. That code section that's being referenced does not specifically deal with regulations. That deals with game variance. So the way that section was written years ago is that you have the code, you have the regulations, and then rules regarding game variations. So that kind of sits outside of the actual regulation. So theoretically, if an organization wanted a brand new game, bingo game, or a Texas Hold'em game, and this what's being discussed, but specifically a bingo game, then they could petition the in this case the board right now or the department and ask them to approve a game variation at that point. But these are not the regulations. This is separate. This is game variation. If you read that specific code section.
Okay. All right. I'm sure that's a very good answer, but it's still, to me, as clear as mud. I'm sorry. but that's probably a brain problem I have. But
Mr. Chair, even if you amended the section, it wouldn't still exempt the regulation development for Texas Hold'em from the APA.
Okay.
Okay. So
All right.
just to answer the question.
Well, let me ask you this question: Is there room for compromise? You heard former Delegate Albo's comments. Is there room? Is there room in there to try to accommodate the desires of all the stakeholders?
Well, if you're talking about what the administration stance is.
Mr. Chairman.
I guess the speed in which.
Yeah, to speed it up.
Certainly in the normal Administrative Process Act, obviously it could take, as what's being pointed out by former Delegate Albo, could take up to 18 months to 2 years, but there's also mechanisms within the Administrative Process Act to speed up those regulations to much faster than that time frame. It all depends.
Okay, so this, of course, I'm just one person, so I'd like to see happen, if possible, if the committee agrees with me. We have one more full meeting before we have to get bills up to appropriations. I would like to take this bill by until next Tuesday.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, the bill is passed by for the.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, but I had my request to speak.
I'm sorry.
on.
I'm sorry.
And before we pass it by, I did have a clarifying question that I don't think I should, I mean, it.
You can go. You can go ahead and ask the question. I mean,
Okay,
the bills passed by, but.
I understand, but there was a statement made by former Delegate Albo that, and I'm just looking to find out, to what degree this, if at all, that it's hyperbolic. The statement was, if charities won't exist anymore if they can't play bingo. And I don't know what that means in real terms.
Okay, all right. Well, you'll get another crack at it next Tuesday. And Delegate Bulova, were you just trying to get my attention because Delegate Adams had a question, or do you have something you want to add?
No, I just had a clarifying question, just to make sure I kind of understood the mechanics
Okay,
here.
right. And just for the record, please shout at me. If I don't recognize you see you on the board, just feel free to throw something at me or whatever you need to take.
I think this it probably is aimed at Mr. Menifee in terms of just clarifying. If I think I understood you correctly, either accepting or rejecting this particular amendment with regard to whether it goes to the APA or not doesn't actually get to Mr. Albo's question that it would require a separate amendment in order to go ahead and do that. That's what I thought I heard you say, but I just wanted to make sure that that was a correct understanding.
Mr. Chair, I mean, obviously, if the body's looking to allow the Texas Hold'em to be development of the regulation for Texas Hold'em regulations exempt from the EPA would be a different section than what was rejected recently.
Okay, all right, well, we've passed it by for the day, and so the reason I wanted to pass it by was because it looked like a very significant change occurred from subcommittee and full committee. We don't have the time today to try to resolve that, and so if we can work offline and bring it back to the full committee in a more coherent fashion. All right, so Delegate Robinson, what's the next one?
House
Your
Bill
report.
766, it establishes the Charitable Gaming Fund as a receiver of all fees and penalties collected by the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services in its administration of charitable gaming laws. The bill allocates 50% of the collected funds to the department to fund its cost of administering charitable gaming laws, 5% to the Virginia Lottery Fund, to fund the cost of the illegal gaming enforcement coordinator, a position created at the Virginia Lottery by the bill, and 1% of the problem gambling treatment and support fund, and 44% to the general fund. The bill charges the illegal gaming enforcement coordinator with the coordinating local, state, and federal enforcement of illegal gaming, and with establishing a tip line for members of the public to report concerns about illegal gaming. There was a substitute reported by the subcommittee.
All right, there's a motion to adopt the substitute. In a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Substitute's before us.
Subcommittee reported and referred this bill on an 8-0 vote, and I so move.
Okay, and there's a second. All those members wishing to vote on this House Bill 766, please do so on the board.
Delegate Carr.
Aye.
Okay, that bill is reported and referred to appropriations on a vote of 21-0. Delegate Robinson.
House Bill 1014, Delegate Runyon's bill. The subcommittee reported it with amendments.
All right, there's a motion to adopt the amendments. There's a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The amendments are before us.
766.
This exempts qualified organizations on the basis of prior to charitable gaming on annual results to realize gross receipts of $15,000 or less from all charitable gaming other than raffles conducted on a total of no more than 7 days per calendar year from the requirements to notify VDACs of their intention to conduct such charitable gaming or comply with the regulations of the Charitable Gaming Board. That's pretty much it.
Okay, and what was the committee's recommendation?
Committee's recommendation was to report with on a 5-3 vote, and I so move.
Okay, all right. So Delegate Runyon, this was not a unanimous vote. Do you want to take a moment to explain your bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This differentiates between small operators of low usage, lawn parties of the such, and where they're just doing this for a week throughout the summer, small dollar amounts, and the regulatory and financial burden was significant on these small charitables. It differentiates from against the larger, more sophisticated operators, and it only applies to paper games. And it is back to the old days for this.
Okay. Anyone on the committee wish to express an opposing view?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, who's that?
I just have a clarifying question.
Okay, all right. Is that
I just
Delegate
wanna-
Price on the end?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. I didn't see your name on the board. Go
I
ahead.
thought you said to just yell at you.
You did. That's what with the masks and everything, I don't recognize everybody.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I need a little help.
I actually, I will withdraw my question. I'll ask the patron.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, anything else from the committee? All right. All right. There's been a motion to report the bill with amendments, and there's a second. All members wishing to vote on the matter, please do so on the board.
Delegate Carr.
No.
Okay. That bill reports on a vote of 10 to 8.
Thank you. One last bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
House Bill 1123, Delegate Campbell's bill. It increases the criminal penalties for various violations of illegal gambling and unlawful gaming. It also establishes the illegal gaming and unlawful gaming investigation unit within the Department of the State Police. The bill establishes the illegal gaming and unlawful gaming fund for the purpose of funding the activities of the unit. And the subcommittee recommended reporting it out on an 8-0 vote, and it also needs to go to appropriations.
Okay, there's a motion to report and refer to appropriations. Here a second. All right. All those members wishing to vote on House Bill 1123, please cast your vote.
Delegate Carr. Delegate Carr.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Everybody voted that's still here. I know we dropped. All right. All right. That bill reports on a vote of 16 to 1.
And that completes my report, sir.
Thank you, Delegate Robinson. Delegate Campbell, the report from Subcommittee Number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The subcommittee had 4 bills in front of it in which the patrons requested that they be stricken. That would be House Bill 119 from Delegate March, House Bill 488 from Delegate Freitas, House Bill 817 from Delegate Torian, and House Bill 968 from Delegate Simons. The subcommittee recommended striking those from the docket by an 8-0 vote, and I would so move by a vote in block.
All right. All members wishing to strike those 4 bills, please vote on the board.
Delegate Carr.
Aye.
Okay. Those bills are stricken from the docket on a vote of 16 to 0. Delegate Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item on the agenda was House Bill 818 from Delegate Torian. Delegate Torian requested that his bill be incorporated into his House Bill 816. Subcommittee recommended incorporating the same by unanimous vote, and I would so move by voice vote.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right. Delegate Campbell.
Next item would be House Bill 438 from Delegate Sewell. This bill dealt with A&E term contract limitations, specifically with an exception to localities with a population in excess of 400,000. Delegate Sewell requested that his bill be incorporated into Delegate Bulliva's House Bill 429. Subcommittee, by unanimous vote, recommended the same, and I would so move by voice vote.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. That bill's incorporated. Delegate Campbell.
House Bill 429 from Delegate Bulliva dealt with A&E term contracts. It essentially raises the limitations to modern and consistent with modern day costs. The subcommittee, there was a substitute, and I would so move the substitute.
All right. All those in favor of adopting substitute say aye. Opposed, same sign. Substitutes before us.
After hearing, the subcommittee recommended reporting by an 8-0 vote, and I would so move.
Okay. Can we take up 964 and do those 2 in a block?
We can, yes. House Bill 964 from Delegate Subramanian dealt with the Virginia Public Procurement Act, and it essentially requires public bodies to post their invitations for bid online through the EVA system. There's a delayed enactment date of July 1, 2023 to allow public bodies to be able to effectuate the same. Subcommittee recommended reporting by a 7-0 vote. I would so move the same in block.
Okay. There's a second. All right, we're voting on two bills in a block, House Bill 429 and House Bill 964. All members wishing to vote on this matter, please do so on the board.
Delegate Carr.
Carr votes aye.
You want to vote on your motion, Delegate Campbell?
Murphy.
IT problems.
Well, we'll wait a second here to see to get it working. Or can you call his name?
I'm sorry, who is it?
Campbell. Can you get his?
Delegate Campbell.
Aye.
All right. All right, here we go. Those bills report on a vote of 18 to 0.
That would be the report from the committee, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, I believe we have one housekeeping matter here. It was House Bill 914. It's a re-referral to Committee on Rules. I get a motion? And there's been a motion, a second, to refer House Bill 914 to the Committee on Rules, and I believe that's a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same
Aye.
sign. Bill is referred. Mr. Clerk, is there any other business I haven't?
That completes our
All right,
business.
okay. Anything else on the minds of the committee today? Hearing none, we adjourn. Hold on a second. When, who was in the first subcommittee meeting? Is that?
Number 2 is going to meet in about 4 minutes. Give us a quick break and
Okay.
then back in 4 minutes. Got a lot of bills, about 31.
All right.
It's going to take us longer than 4 minutes. but-
Well, it's going to take the clerk a little bit longer to transition, so we'll do 10 minutes. We're adjourned.